What's good, and welcome to the Services Power Podcast, brought to you by Impact Servant Leadership. My name's Lyle, and we are here. This is our pilot episode. This is the very first episode of the Services Power Podcast. And man, I'm super excited. I'm really beside myself with enthusiasm to do this. It's a little bit scary. I'm a little nervous. Well, I'm a lot of it nervous. And so to help me not be too nervous, my wife is here with me, and we're in this thing together. Her name is Sherrell. Sherrell, would you like to say hello to the people in podcast world?
Hi, people in the podcast world.
Oh, wow. So we've been sitting here, and we've been just completely enjoying this time that we get to spend together doing this, talking to you guys about service and power and kind of what all that means. It's a little bit of an oxymoron. It's two polarizing concepts, talking about serving people, but also trying to match that up with it being power as well. It's kind of different. It's not something that most people put together, but we like to put it together, and hopefully during this podcast series, we can show that serving people and helping people is actually significant, and it adds value and it adds purpose to people's lives, and it makes things and people so much better. And we'd like to be able to showcase and highlight what extraordinary and powerful service is like. And I think one great way to do that is by talking about how really terrible service is like. I think we've all been in a situation a time or two where we have seen some people that just bomb when it comes to really serving. And they do a really terrible job at it. I remember being at a gas station one time, and it was one of those gas stations where you actually don't pay at the pump. You got to go inside and pay. And when you go into the little convenience area, you have all those snacks and those drinks, and you want to buy something. And so I wanted to get a pack of Starburst. It's probably Skittles or something like that, something fruity. And I grabbed the candy, and I'm going over to the counter, and the person sitting at the counter is looking at me as if I'm doing something wrong by just wanting to purchase something. And the attitude of this individual was just horrible. It was really off-putting. I wanted to drop the candy and just kind of run out of there. Just, find a way just to give the cash and just go as quickly as possible. Just never wanted to go back to that place. I never actually did go back to that gas station again. It was just a really terrible experience. However, we've also been influenced by some really, really cool service as well. Sherrell, would you tell the people about the last time or one of the more memorable times that you had some really powerful, some extraordinary service?
Yes. So we went to White Castle after church, and we did drive-through because, we have children, and it's just better to go through drive-through and not deal with the wiggle worms and the excitement, the high that they're coming from after being in children's church. So we did drive-through. The young lady, whose name was Gabriella, took our order, and I will say that she was outstanding. For a minute, I thought that I was at Chick-fil-A because their service that they provide is just phenomenal. And for me, the things that stood out for Gabriella was that she was humble, she was patient, she was a phenomenal listener. When we changed our order because we didn't see something, when you're hungry and your stomach decides to change itself to what you thought you wanted, and then your eyes glance, or your stomach speaks for you, becomes your brain and says, no, you don't want that, we want this, and so you change it. So that's what happened with us. But she, again, was kind. She listened. She understood. She asked, was anything else that we needed? She was very, very pleasant. Her tone was soft, but she was a person that wanted to provide a service that met the needs that we needed, which, again, we just came from church. Church was great, and what we needed was to be fed. And I appreciate the service that Gabrielle provided for our family at Drive-Thru at White Castle.
Yeah, man. Love White Castle. Love what Gabriella did. So this is what we did. We decided to take a picture. We talked to her manager. We got the store number. And we jumped on Twitter. And we tweeted at White Castle, hey, this is Gabriella. This is the store she works at. And she just, rocked our world with her service. And, she needs a raise, invest in her. So we're hoping that White Castle followed our advice there and really did something great for her, because we think that that's what happens when we have extraordinary service. I mean, because it did something for us. I mean, it made our day so much better. We're talking about Gabriella so much that, I mean, she's a highlight for this podcast. It was really life-changing for us. It was really significant. It made us feel fantastic, and she just took our order, and so we took note of it. We were willing to pay more. Of course, you can't give her tips at White Castle, but we would have if we could. We were very accepting and lenient. I mean, there was a mistake actually made in the order, but I mean, we didn't care because Gabriella was so fantastic, and we really enjoyed our ride home. There were so many cool things that happened when we had that world-changing, absolutely powerful and significant service. And so, here at the Services Power podcast, we think that if we're able to serve well, that there are powerful aspects of life that can enhance others' abilities to appreciate their own life and the world around them. We think that this podcast would help take away some of the negativity around the service industry. And for people coming out of college, which is what this podcast is for, who this podcast is for, if you're a university student, first of all, right now, you can be significant by helping other people. Helping, first of all, your fellow students, the people within your fraternity or your social group, that you can actually affect change in your world right now just by doing something fantastic for someone else. And making that not just something that we do, but it's becoming something we are. It's a shift in our personality and our perspective of life that really makes us better people, and it makes our world better as well. And as college students, a college student can do that right now. And then a person that lives around a college student, a person on the faculty, whether you're a parent, you're a mentor, you're a helper in some way, you're a supporter of a college student, if we also become these types of people, not just doing great things, but becoming great servants and helping empower other people, then we begin to create a culture that a college student can come out of university, go into a workforce, whether they're doing profit or nonprofit, and they can really help change the world. We want to be able to help influence world changers with this podcast. We want to help college students become the leaders that everybody wants to work for, not run from. We want to help college students also become the employee that supervisors want to promote, not fire. We want to help college students build businesses that other people want to come back to, not just because of the product, but because of the phenomenal service that they are being given. We also want to help college students gain influence within a community. Whether they are talking to their friends or their family, or it's the old lady that lives at the edge of the cul-de-sac. We want to help people in college affect the world, one person and one moment at a time. Services Power Podcast is all about the idea that the power to serve will serve us all. It's not just about the individual, but it is about everyone else. And the Services Power podcast is going to put everyone else first. We've got a ton of guests that are going to be coming onto this podcast from the university perspective, from leadership perspective, personal leadership, all the way to companies. Even having my wife here is a fantastic thing. She is the most incredible homemaker ever. She's a leader in our household, not just a leader for our kids, but certainly, as you can tell, she leads me. It's really, really great. And to have those types of leaders come onto this podcast and talk about serving and talk about the significance and power that they have in the lives of other people and how they help other people, and how they make other people better is what this podcast is all about. They're all coming. We're so glad to have the opportunity to speak to each and every one of you. Wow. So, babe, this was the first episode of the Services Power podcast. How do you think it went?
First off, thank you for those kind words. I think it went great. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too.
For the next episodes and
Yeah, cool. Well, thank you for jumping on this train ride with us. We will see you at the very next stop. We're honored to serve.